The CEO kissed Noah so fiercely in front of his biggest rival that the entire ballroom forgot to breathe. Crystal glasses froze halfway to waiting lips. Conversations shattered into silence. Camera flashes exploded from every direction as Alexander Carter, the youngest CEO in the city's financial world, gripped Noah Bennett by the wrist, pulled him against his chest, and claimed his mouth in a kiss that was far too intimate to be mistaken for a performance. When he finally stepped back, his thumb lingered against Noah's jaw. His cold gray eyes never left the rival standing across the room. "If anyone still has questions," Alexander said evenly, "Noah is with me." The words landed harder than the kiss itself. Across the ballroom, Ethan Brooks, the CEO's longtime business rival, smiled instead of looking defeated. That smile sent a chill through Noah's chest. Nothing about this looked like a victory. Noah could barely hear the applause beginning somewhere in the crowd. He wasn't Alexander's boyfriend. He wasn't his fiancée. Officially, he was only the CEO's executive assistant. 5 minutes earlier, they had been discussing quarterly reports behind the stage. Now, every major business journalist in the room was photographing them as if they had just announced an engagement. Someone shouted a question. "Mr. Carter, are you confirming the relationship?" Alexander ignored the reporters completely. His hand remained around Noah's wrist, not painfully tight, but impossible to misunderstand. Noah felt every camera aimed at them, every whisper, every curious stare. A memory flashed through his mind without warning. Standing alone in high school, while classmates laughed because nobody had chosen him during a graduation dance. He pushed the memory away immediately, but the old ache remained. Being noticed had never frightened him. Being chosen for the wrong reason always had. Security hurried toward the growing crowd as Alexander finally released him. "We're leaving," he said quietly. Noah stared at him in disbelief. "Leaving?" Alexander simply nodded toward the exit. Now, before Noah could demand an explanation, Ethan called after them. "Running already?" His tone was almost amused. "Or are you afraid he'll ask why you suddenly remembered to kiss him tonight?" Alexander stopped walking. Only for a second. Only long enough for Noah to notice the muscles in his jaw tighten. Then he continued toward the elevator without answering. That silence hurt more than any explanation could have. Inside the private elevator, the noise from the gala disappeared behind polished steel doors. Noah finally pulled his wrist free. "What was that?" he demanded. Alexander remained facing forward. "Necessary. Necessary." Noah laughed once, short and bitter. "You kissed me in front of half the business world. I know. People think we're together. I know. Then explain it." Alexander looked at the glowing floor numbers instead of Noah. "I can't." 3 words. Calm. Controlled. Completely unbearable. Noah searched his face for embarrassment, regret, anything. He found only exhaustion. The elevator doors opened onto the executive parking level. Waiting outside was a line of black SUVs, and dozens of reporters who had somehow arrived before them. Microphones stretched forward. Cameras flashed again. "Mr. Carter, was that a publicity stunt? Mr. Bennett, how long have you been hiding the relationship? Did you steal him from Mr. Brooks?" Alexander stepped between Noah and the cameras without hesitation. His body blocked the flashes, but not the questions. He opened the rear door of the car. "Get in." Noah didn't move. "Not until you tell me why." Alexander's expression softened for the briefest moment before hardening again. "If I tell you now." He stopped himself. "You'll be in even more danger." Noah frowned. "Danger? From a kiss?" Before he could ask another question, Ethan's black sedan rolled to a stop beside them. The rear window lowered silently. Ethan leaned slightly toward the opening, still wearing that calm smile. "You should ask him what I was about to announce before he interrupted me," he said, looking directly at Noah instead of Alexander. "You deserve to know why he suddenly decided you belonged to him." Alexander's hand clenched into a fist so tightly the veins across his knuckles turned white. For the first time that night, Noah saw something that didn't fit the image of the untouchable CEO. It wasn't anger. It looked frighteningly close to fear. And in that instant, Noah realized the kiss might not have been the most dangerous thing that had happened tonight. The next morning, Noah's name was everywhere before he even stepped into Carter Group headquarters. Every financial website had the same headline. The ice-cold CEO finally claims his secret lover in front of his biggest rival. Another article called it the most shocking moment in the city's business world. One blurry photo showed Alexander's hand gripping Noah's wrist. Another captured the kiss itself. Thousands of comments flooded beneath the pictures, arguing whether it was love, obsession, or the world's most expensive publicity stunt. Noah lowered his phone and closed his eyes. His identification badge still described him as executive assistant. The internet had promoted him to something entirely different overnight. As soon as the elevator doors opened onto the executive floor, conversations stopped. Employees looked away too late. Some smiled awkwardly. Others whispered behind coffee cups. Noah had worked here for almost 3 years. He had earned every promotion through impossible hours and relentless effort. Now none of that mattered. One kiss had erased every achievement. His assistant desk was covered with flowers from reporters and anonymous gifts from curious strangers. Someone had even left a small card that read, "Congratulations on taming the CEO." Noah threw it into the trash without opening the attached envelope. Before he could settle down, his office phone rang. "Mr. Bennett," the receptionist said carefully, "Mr. Carter is requesting you upstairs." Noah almost laughed. Requesting? Alexander had never used that word with him. He rode the private elevator alone, rehearsing every question he intended to ask. The office door was already open when he arrived. Alexander stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, jacket removed, sleeves rolled up, staring at 3 television screens broadcasting yesterday's gala from every possible angle. None of the reports mentioned the company's latest merger. Every channel replayed the kiss instead. "Congratulations," Noah said coldly. "You successfully distracted the entire country." Alexander muted the televisions without turning around. "Sit down." "No." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Alexander faced him. There were dark circles beneath his eyes that Noah had never noticed before. "You're angry." Noah stared at him in disbelief. "You think?" He stepped closer, unable to stop himself. "People think I'm sleeping with my boss. Investors think we're hiding a relationship. Half the company believes I got my job because of you." He took another step. "Tell me one thing. Just one." "What?" Alexander's expression remained unreadable, but his fingers tightened around the television remote until the plastic cracked. "Because I had no other choice." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give." Noah let out a frustrated breath. Then maybe Ethan was right. For the first time, Alexander reacted instantly. "Stay away from him." The warning came so quickly that it sounded almost instinctive. Noah narrowed his eyes. "Why?" Alexander looked away. "I can't explain." Again, Noah shook his head bitterly. "Everything with you is I can't explain." Before either man could speak again, the office intercom buzzed. "Mr. Carter," the receptionist announced nervously, "Mr. Ethan Brooks is here. He says he doesn't have an appointment, but he insists you'll want to hear what he has to say." Alexander closed his eyes for one brief second. "Send him in." Ethan entered carrying no briefcase, no lawyer, no assistant. Only a thin black folder tucked beneath one arm. His relaxed smile never reached his eyes. "Good morning," he said pleasantly. "I hope I'm not interrupting the honeymoon." Noah expected Alexander to throw him out immediately. Instead, Alexander remained perfectly still. Ethan noticed. "See," he said softly to Noah. "He's already calculating consequences instead of denying the joke." He placed the black folder on Alexander's desk. "You interrupted me last night before I could show Noah what's inside." Noah looked from one man to the other. "What is it?" Ethan answered before Alexander could speak. "The reason he kissed you." Alexander stepped forward. "Don't." Ethan ignored him completely. "Noah," he continued calmly, "if I open this folder, your entire life changes." Noah's pulse quickened. "Then open it." Alexander's voice cut through the room like broken glass. "No." It was the first time Noah had ever heard genuine fear in the CEO's voice. Ethan smiled faintly. "Interesting." He tapped the folder with one finger. "He'd rather let you hate him than let you see what's in here." Noah looked directly at Alexander. "Is that true?" Alexander did not answer. His silence said enough. Ethan picked up the folder again instead of opening it. "Not today," he said. "I want you to wonder first." He slipped a business card into Noah's hand. "Come see me when you're ready to hear the truth your CEO keeps burying." Then he walked out as casually as he had entered. The office remained silent long after the door closed. Noah stared at the card in his hand before slowly lifting his eyes toward Alexander. "What could possibly be inside that folder?" he asked quietly. That makes you more afraid of me knowing it than of losing me. Noah told himself he would not go to Ethan Brooks. He repeated it through the rest of the morning while reporters crowded the lobby, while employees pretended not to stare, while Alexander locked himself inside back-to-back emergency calls with the board. He repeated it again when his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Ask him who signed the first settlement. Attached beneath the words was a scanned image of a document with half the information blacked out. Only 3 things remained visible: Noah Bennett, Carter Group, and a date from 2 years ago. Noah's hands went cold. 2 years ago, he had been nobody important. A junior analyst buried in spreadsheets, still eating convenience store dinners at midnight, because rent took most of his paycheck. Why would his name appear on a settlement involving Carter Group? And why had Alexander never mentioned it? By lunchtime, the office felt less like a workplace and more like a stage where everyone was waiting for him to crack. Noah lasted until 3 in the afternoon before taking the elevator down. Instead of up, Ethan's office was across the city, occupying the top floor of a rival building built almost entirely from glass. The receptionist greeted him by name before he spoke, which told Noah everything. Ethan had expected him. He found the man standing beside a conference table with the black folder already open. I wondered how long Carter's silence would keep working, Ethan said. Noah didn't sit. Show me. Ethan's smile was soft enough to look sympathetic. That made it worse. He slid the first page across the table. It was a non-disclosure agreement. Noah recognized his own signature at the bottom. His stomach dropped. I never signed this. No. Ethan tilted his head. That's strange. The document says you did. Noah scanned the page faster, heart pounding. The agreement stated that Noah Bennett had received financial compensation after an internal incident at Carter Group and waived all rights to future legal claims. Compensation. Incident. Waived rights. The words blurred together. This is fake. Maybe. Ethan slid another page forward. This one was a company photograph from 2 years earlier, taken at an employee charity event. Noah stood in the background holding a stack of folders, younger and thinner, smiling awkwardly at someone outside the frame. Beside him, half hidden by a pillar, stood Alexander Carter. He was watching Noah. Not the stage. Not the donors. Noah. The expression on his face was impossible to explain as professional interest. Ethan leaned closer. He noticed you long before you became his assistant. Noah hated the way his chest tightened at that. That's not proof of anything. Then maybe this is. Ethan showed him an email chain between Carter Group's legal department and an outside crisis firm. Most names were hidden, but one line remained untouched. If Bennett finds out, Carter will lose more than the merger. Noah read it 3 times. Each time, the sentence felt more like a trap closing around him. What do you want from me? He asked. For the first time, Ethan's smile faded. I want you to stop mistaking possession for protection. Noah looked up. And you care because? Because Alexander Carter has built an empire. By deciding what other people are allowed to know. Ethan tapped the folder. Last night, I planned to give you the truth in front of everyone. He kissed you to stop me. The words struck exactly where doubt had already formed. A public kiss. A possessive claim. A room full of witnesses suddenly distracted from whatever Ethan had been about to reveal. Noah remembered Alexander's hand around his wrist. Not painful. Not gentle either. Decisive. Controlling. If this is all real, Noah said slowly, why not open the folder now? Ethan's eyes sharpened. Because I want you to ask him first. That answer surprised him. Why? Because if he lies after this, you'll know what kind of man you're protecting in your own heart. Noah hated him for saying it. Hated him more because part of him wanted to know. He left with copies sealed in a gray envelope. By the time he returned to Carter Group, the executive floor had emptied for the evening. Alexander's office light was still on. Of course it was. Noah walked in without knocking. Alexander looked up from his desk, and whatever he saw on Noah's face made him stand immediately. Where were you? Noah threw the envelope onto the desk. With Ethan. The room went still. Alexander's eyes dropped to the envelope. Noah, don't. Noah's voice shook, but he refused to step back. Don't say you can't explain. Don't tell me to stay away from him. Don't protect me from another answer I didn't ask you to hide. Alexander looked at the papers, then at him. The silence stretched until it became its own confession. Noah felt something inside him harden. Did you know me 2 years ago? Alexander closed his eyes. When he opened them, the fear was back. Yes. One word. One real answer. And somehow it made everything worse. Noah swallowed past the tightness in his throat. Then tell me what happened before Ethan does it for you. Alexander's answer never came. Instead, his office phone rang with such urgency that both men instinctively looked toward it. The caller ID displayed only one word. Chairman. Alexander silenced it without hesitation. It rang again. Then again. Answer it, Noah said quietly. Alexander never took his eyes off him. Not until we're finished. Noah almost laughed. Finished. He pointed at the gray envelope lying open across the desk. I just found out you knew me 2 years before I ever worked directly for you. Someone forged, or somehow obtained, my signature on a legal settlement I don't remember signing. Your biggest rival claims you kissed me to stop him from exposing the truth, and the only answer you've managed to give me is one word. His voice cracked despite himself. Yes. Alexander lowered his gaze for the first time. I know. Then explain it. Silence settled over the office once more, but this time it felt different. Not defensive. Heavy. Almost unbearable. Finally, Alexander spoke. 2 years ago, something happened inside this company that should never have happened. Noah waited. Alexander continued, each word sounding as though it cost him something. You became involved without realizing it. What does that mean? I can't tell you everything. Noah took a sharp breath. There it is again. Alexander stepped around the desk slowly, stopping just far enough away that he could not reach Noah without taking another step. If I tell you the entire truth now, Ethan wins. How? Because he's counting on you hearing only half of the story. Noah stared at him. Then give me the other half. Alexander closed his eyes briefly before answering. Not yet. The disappointment hit harder than the anger. Noah shook his head and backed toward the door. You don't trust me. Alexander looked up immediately. That's not true. Then what am I supposed to believe? Noah demanded. That you trust me enough to kiss me in front of hundreds of people, but not enough to tell me why. Those words finally broke through Alexander's composure. For the first time since Noah had known him, the CEO's voice lost its perfect control. I'd rather have you hate me than watch you become his target. Noah froze. The sentence hung between them. It wasn't the explanation he wanted, but it was the first honest emotion Alexander had shown since the gala. Before Noah could respond, the office doors opened without warning. The company's general counsel entered, pale and visibly shaken. Mr. Carter, the board has called an emergency session. Effective immediately. He noticed Noah and hesitated. I'm sorry. Alexander's expression hardened again. What happened? The lawyer swallowed. Someone leaked confidential documents to the press this morning. He placed a tablet on the desk. Every major business network displayed the same breaking headline. Carter Group accused of covering up internal misconduct. Noah's heartbeat quickened. The accompanying article showed only a blurred image of a document, but even from across the room, he recognized the format. It looked almost identical to the settlement Ethan had shown him. The lawyer continued. The board believes more documents will surface tonight. Alexander asked only one question. Did they mention Noah? Not yet. Alexander released a breath so quietly that almost nobody would have noticed. Noah did. The relief wasn't for the company. It was for him. That single reaction planted a seed of doubt inside Noah's anger. If Alexander was hiding everything only to protect himself, why would his first concern be whether Noah's name had appeared? The lawyer handed Alexander another sealed envelope. This arrived by courier 5 minutes ago. Across the front, written in elegant handwriting, were the words, "Opened during the board meeting." Alexander recognized the handwriting instantly. Ethan's. He slipped the envelope into his briefcase without opening it. Noah frowned. You're not even going to look? Not here. Why? Alexander answered without hesitation. Because that's exactly what he wants. 10 minutes later, the executive boardroom filled with directors, attorneys, investors, and crisis consultants. Noah remained outside the glass walls, watching through the windows as Alexander faced a room full of hostile expressions completely alone. Voices rose. Several directors slammed documents onto the polished table. One by one, hands pointed toward Alexander. He never defended himself. He never mentioned Noah. He never mentioned Ethan. Nearly an hour passed before the meeting doors finally opened. Directors filed out wearing expressions somewhere between frustration and fear. Alexander emerged last. His tie was loosened. His shoulders looked heavier than Noah had ever seen them. He walked straight toward Noah, stopping only inches away. "Go home," he said quietly. "Lock your apartment. Don't answer unknown calls. Don't meet Ethan again." Noah searched his face. "Are you ordering me?" Alexander's eyes softened with exhaustion. "I'm begging you." Before Noah could answer, his own phone vibrated. A new message from an unknown number appeared on the screen. He opened it instinctively. It contained only a single sentence and a video attachment. The sentence read, "He still hasn't told you who really paid the price 2 years ago." The video thumbnail showed Alexander standing alone in what looked like a hospital corridor, covered in blood. Noah opened the video before common sense could stop him. The hallway on the screen was stark white, lit by the cruel fluorescent glare of a hospital emergency wing. Alexander stood near a pair of swinging double doors in a wrinkled dress shirt, sleeves soaked with blood from wrist to elbow. He looked younger, colder, terrified in a way Noah had never seen. A doctor said something off camera. Alexander grabbed the man's arm. "Use mine," he said, voice raw. "Whatever he needs. Blood, money, surgery, anything. Just keep his name out of every report." The camera shook, then the video ended. Noah stared at the frozen screen until the boardroom lights blurred around him. "What is this?" he whispered. Alexander went completely still. Not confused. Not surprised. Devastated. That was the answer before he spoke. "Noah," he said quietly, "give me the phone." Noah stepped back. "Was that me?" Alexander's silence cracked the room open. The emergency meeting, the leaked documents, Ethan's folder, the kiss. Everything rearranged at once, but not into clarity. Into something worse. 2 years ago, there had been a company retreat Noah barely remembered because most of that month had disappeared behind exhaustion and cheap painkillers after what he had been told was a subway accident. He remembered waking in a hospital with a bandaged shoulder. He remembered a nurse saying the bill had been handled by insurance. He remembered signing discharge papers, with hands too shaky to read properly. He had never remembered Alexander standing in the hallway covered in his blood. "Tell me," Noah said. This time his voice did not shake. Alexander looked past him toward the empty hallway, as if calculating every camera, every listening ear, every possible damage. Then he stopped calculating. "Ethan's people tried to bury a whistleblower file inside your analyst reports," he said. "You didn't know what you were carrying. You walked into a parking garage with a flash drive that could expose a merger fraud scheme between Brooks Capital and 2 Carter board members." Noah's breath shortened. "I was attacked." Alexander nodded once. "I found you after." The words landed softly. The implication did not. "And the settlement?" "The board created it to make the incident disappear." "With my forged signature?" Alexander's jaw tightened. "Yes." Noah felt sick. "And you let them?" "I was 28 and had inherited a company already rotting from the inside. If I fought publicly then, the board would have destroyed the evidence. Ethan would have walked, and your name would have become attached to corporate theft you never committed." His voice lowered. "So I bought the silence around you instead." Noah stared at him. "You bought my silence without telling me." Pain crossed Alexander's face. "I bought your safety." The words should have sounded arrogant. Instead, they sounded like a confession he had hated for 2 years. "I paid the hospital directly. I buried your name. I fired everyone I could reach without alerting Ethan. Then I transferred you away from the analyst's floor because I thought distance would protect you." Noah remembered the sudden promotion, the new office, the cold CEO who never looked at him longer than necessary, yet somehow always knew when he skipped meals, when he stayed too late, when a client spoke to him sharply. Protection disguised as distance. His anger did not disappear. It changed shape. "Why not tell me after?" Alexander finally looked at him. "Because every document still had your name on it. If Ethan proved you knew anything, even accidentally, he could make you the center of the scandal." He swallowed. "Last night, he planned to announce you as the secret witness in front of every reporter in that ballroom. Once your face was attached to the old case, the board would have sacrificed you before breakfast." Noah's pulse pounded. The kiss. The possessive claim. The cameras turning from Ethan's announcement to Alexander's scandal. Public humiliation had been the shield. "So you made them look at you instead," Noah said. Alexander did not deny it. "I made them look at us." The distinction hurt. "You still took my choice." "I know." That answer stopped Noah more than any excuse would have. Alexander's voice was rough now. I know, and I am sorry. But in that second, I saw Ethan step toward the microphone, and all I could think was that you were about to be dragged into something I had spent 2 years trying to keep from touching you. The hallway fell silent except for Noah's phone vibrating again. Another message appeared. This one had no video. Only a photo of the emergency board vote schedule and one sentence beneath it. If Carter tells him everything, Carter loses the company by morning. Noah looked up slowly. He knew you'd finally talk. Alexander's face hardened. Yes. And now he has what he wanted. From inside the boardroom, voices rose again. Through the glass, Noah saw directors gathering around a projected document stamped emergency removal vote. Alexander turned toward the room as if walking to his own execution. For the first time, Noah understood the true cost of the kiss. It had not been ownership. It had been a man choosing to become the scandal so Noah would not become the sacrifice. But understanding did not erase the damage. Noah caught his sleeve before he could enter. Alexander looked down at his hand, startled by the contact. You don't get to decide alone anymore, Noah said. His voice was quiet, but it did not bend. If my name is the reason they're taking you down, then I deserve to know every truth before I choose what to do with it. Alexander's eyes softened with something almost painful. And if the truth ruins me? Noah tightened his grip, remembering the risk that had been taken in the ballroom and the choice he had not been given. This time, he held on because he wanted to. Then stop protecting me like I'm something you own, he said, and let me decide whether you're worth standing beside. Alexander walked into the emergency board meeting without looking back, but Noah stayed where he was outside the glass wall, watching every face turn toward the man who had just admitted he had destroyed his own reputation to protect someone else. The directors wasted no time. Thick binders slammed onto the polished table. Charts filled the screens. Headlines about the gala flashed beside reports of the leaked settlement. One board member jabbed a finger toward Alexander. Another pushed a motion across the table. Even through the soundproof glass, Noah could recognize the language of blame. 15 minutes later, the company secretary hurried out carrying another stack of documents. She stopped when she noticed Noah. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. Neither should he. Before Noah could ask what she meant, she disappeared down the hallway. His phone vibrated. A news alert appeared across the screen. Carter Group stock falls after scandal. Minutes later, another followed. Board considers temporary removal of CEO. Noah stared at the headlines in disbelief. The kiss had not only become a social scandal. It had become a weapon powerful enough to shake a billion-dollar company. For the first time, he understood that Alexander had not exaggerated the cost. He really was losing everything. The boardroom doors finally opened nearly 2 hours later. Directors filed out in tense silence, refusing to answer reporters gathering outside the executive floor. Alexander emerged last with his attorney beside him. His tie hung loose, and a fresh crease lined his forehead, but the first thing he did was search the hallway until he found Noah. You're still here, he said quietly. Noah crossed his arms. You asked me to go home. I decided not to. A faint smile almost appeared before disappearing again. Good. It was such a simple word that Noah almost missed its meaning. Alexander had not ordered him this time. He had accepted Noah's decision. The shift was small, but real. Before either man could continue, the attorney cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, they voted. Alexander nodded without asking for the result. I know. Effective immediately, your executive authority is suspended pending investigation. Noah felt the air leave his lungs. What? The attorney continued reluctantly. The board believes your personal relationship with Mr. Bennett compromised your judgment. Noah looked at Alexander in disbelief. They're using me. Alexander answered calmly. They're using the appearance of you. He reached into his briefcase and removed his company access card, placing it into the attorney's waiting hand without protest. Watching him surrender the card felt strangely intimate, as though he were giving away years of his life, one quiet movement at a time. That's it? Noah asked. You're not fighting them? Alexander looked at him instead of the attorney. If I fight now, Ethan releases the rest. Noah's stomach tightened. The rest of what? Alexander hesitated, then removed a thin flash drive from his pocket. Everything I managed to keep hidden. Noah stared at the small piece of metal. You've been carrying it this whole time? For 2 years. Why? Because once this leaves my hands, your name can never disappear again. Noah reached toward the drive, but stopped before touching it. The object suddenly felt heavier than anything he had ever held. It contained the truth he had demanded, yet opening it might destroy the man who had protected him. The elevator doors opened behind them. Ethan stepped out alone, applauding slowly as he approached. "Beautiful," he said with effortless calm. The great Alexander Carter finally removed by his own board. Noah instinctively moved between the two men. Ethan smiled at the gesture. "Interesting. Yesterday you thought he owned you. Today you're protecting him." Noah met his gaze. "What do you want?" Ethan's expression hardened for the first time. "Justice." Alexander laughed once, quietly. "No. Control." Ethan ignored him and looked directly at Noah. "Do you know what happened after your accident?" Noah remained silent. Ethan continued. "Alexander told you he bought your safety. He forgot to mention what he paid with." He slid a newspaper clipping across a nearby table. The headline was 2 years old. "Youngest CEO abandons landmark international acquisition." Beneath it was a photograph of Alexander leaving a shareholders' meeting alone while investors shouted questions. "That acquisition would have doubled Carter Group's value," Ethan said. "He walked away from it overnight." Noah looked from the article to Alexander. "Because of me?" Alexander answered before Ethan could. "Because they demanded your file disappear permanently in exchange for approving the deal." Noah frowned. "You could have signed." "Yes." Alexander's voice remained steady. "And they would have destroyed every record proving you were innocent." Ethan folded his arms. "Tell him the rest." Alexander remained silent. Ethan stepped closer. He also transferred most of his personal shares to buy out the directors involved before they could reach you. Noah's eyes widened. "Is that true?" Alexander finally nodded. "It doesn't matter anymore." "It matters to me." The words escaped before Noah could stop them. Ethan watched the exchange carefully, then sighed almost regretfully. "See? That's always been your weakness, Alexander. You keep sacrificing pieces of yourself without giving anyone the chance to choose with you." He turned toward Noah. "Meet me tomorrow morning. I'll show you every document he still refuses to hand over." Ethan walked back toward the elevator without another word. The doors closed behind him, leaving only silence. Noah looked down at Noah did not sleep after taking the flash drive. He sat at his kitchen table until sunrise, laptop open, untouched coffee gone cold beside him, watching file after file load onto the screen like pieces of a life he had never been allowed to remember. Accident reports, hospital bills, internal emails, board memos, the forged settlement, the whistleblower file. Alexander had not exaggerated. Every document pointed to the same truth. 2 years ago, Noah had carried evidence of a fraud scheme without knowing it. Ethan had tried to retrieve it before it reached federal investigators, and Carter Group's board had buried the attack by turning Noah into a liability no one was supposed to name. But the final folder changed everything. It was labeled Resignation Draft. Noah opened it with numb fingers. Alexander had prepared a resignation letter the night of the gala. Not after the scandal. Not after the board vote. Before the kiss. In it, Alexander accepted full responsibility for personal misconduct and agreed to step down permanently on the condition that all public references to Noah Bennett be removed from any investigation, press release, or legal filing. Noah read the final line 3 times. Mr. Bennett had no knowledge of any corporate misconduct and must not be contacted by press, board, or law enforcement without independent counsel. Alexander had planned to lose everything before Noah even knew there was something to lose. The realization hurt so badly Noah had to stand up and walk away from the screen. His phone rang at 7 exactly. "Ethan." Noah answered without greeting. "You read it," Ethan said. "All of it." "Enough." "Then you know he was going to martyr himself." Noah looked back at the laptop. "You sound almost disappointed." Ethan was silent for a second. "I'm disappointed he still thinks sacrifice makes him noble." "And what do you think it makes him?" "Dangerous." Ethan's voice hardened. "Men like Alexander Carter don't ask permission to save people. They decide what pain is acceptable for everyone else and call it protection." The words cut because Noah could not dismiss them completely. Alexander had protected him. He had also erased him from his own story. "Meet me in 1 hour," Ethan continued. "The board votes on permanent removal at 10. If Alexander submits that resignation before then, there will be nothing left to save." Noah's chest tightened. "Why tell me?" "Because despite what you think, I don't want him destroyed." Ethan exhaled. I want him exposed. There's a difference. The call ended before Noah could answer. By 9:30, Carter Group headquarters was surrounded by reporters. Noah pushed through the crowd with the flash drive hidden inside his jacket pocket, ignoring every shouted question. Upstairs, the executive floor felt colder than usual. Desks were empty. Screens showed live news coverage. The company that once moved with Alexander's quiet control now felt leaderless, waiting for someone else to decide its future. Noah found him alone in his office, standing beside the cleared desk. His nameplate had already been removed. For some reason, that small absence made Noah angrier than the headlines. Alexander turned when he entered. You shouldn't be here. Noah closed the door. You keep saying that like it ever works. A faint shadow of a smile crossed Alexander's face, then vanished. On the desk lay the printed resignation letter. Already signed. Noah's throat tightened. You were going to do it. Alexander did not deny it. It ends the press cycle. It ends you. It protects you. No, Noah said, sharper than he intended. It protects your need to be the only one who bleeds. Alexander flinched. Just slightly. Enough. Noah stepped closer, pulling the flash drive from his pocket. I read the files. I know what you gave up. The acquisition. The shares. The board seats. The last 2 years of pretending you barely saw me when you were watching every thread around me. His voice shook now, but he kept going. And I know you were going to let everyone believe you used me, kissed me, ruined me, then walked away like the villain in Ethan's version of the story. Alexander's expression tightened. If they blame me, they stop looking at you. And if I don't want that? Silence. The question seemed to strike him harder than any accusation. Noah moved around the desk and picked up the resignation letter. For one wild second, Alexander looked ready to stop him. Then he didn't. Noah tore the paper in half. The sound was small. Final. Alexander stared at the torn pieces in Noah's hand. You don't understand what happens next. Then explain it while standing beside me. Noah, no, Noah's eyes burned. You kissed me in front of everyone without asking. You hid the truth without asking. You almost gave up your company without asking. I am done being the person protected in silence. Alexander looked at him like he was seeing him clearly for the first time. Not as someone fragile. Not as someone to shield. Someone with a choice. Before either of them could speak, the boardroom doors opened across the hall. Directors began filing in. Ethan stepped out of the elevator at the same moment, his face unreadable when he saw Noah standing inside Alexander's office. Time, he called softly. They're ready to bury him. Noah looked at Alexander and held out his hand, palm up. Not demanding, not pleading, offering. Then let's stop them. For one heartbeat, Alexander did nothing. Then he placed the company access card, the one he had surrendered the day before, into Noah's palm instead of taking his hand. If you walk in there, he said quietly, you become part of the fight. Noah closed his fingers around the card. Good. And as the boardroom doors opened wider, Noah walked toward them first. The boardroom fell silent the moment Noah pushed the doors open. 20 directors, senior attorneys, shareholders, and crisis consultants turned toward the unexpected interruption. At the far end of the polished table, Alexander stopped walking. Ethan remained near the windows, his expression unreadable. Noah ignored every pair of eyes fixed on him and placed Alexander's surrendered access card onto the conference table. Before anyone votes, he said, you're all going to hear the part of the story that never made it into your reports. Murmurs spread instantly. The chairman frowned. Mr. Bennett, this meeting is restricted. Then explain why your decisions have been based on forged documents carrying my signature. The room froze. Noah removed the flash drive from his pocket and connected it to the presentation system before anyone could stop him. The first image appeared across every screen. The original hospital admission record from 2 years earlier, time-stamped minutes after the parking garage attack. The next was surveillance footage showing 2 masked men following Noah into the garage. Then another file appeared, revealing internal emails proving several board members had known about the assault long before the official investigation began. You told the public this was an accident, Noah said. It wasn't. Several directors immediately began protesting, but Noah kept clicking forward. You said I voluntarily signed a settlement. Another document appeared beside the first. A forensic handwriting analysis highlighted multiple inconsistencies. I never signed anything. The chairman looked toward the company attorney. Is this authentic? Before the attorney could answer, Ethan stepped forward. It is. Every head turned toward him. Noah looked equally surprised. Ethan exhaled slowly before continuing. I came here intending to expose Alexander Carter for manipulating the narrative. He glanced briefly at Alexander. I wasn't wrong about that. Then he faced the board instead. But I was wrong about who created the original lie. Confusion rippled through the room. One elderly director stood abruptly. Mr. Brooks, watch your accusations. Ethan ignored him. The forged settlement wasn't Alexander's idea. It was yours. The room erupted. Directors spoke over one another while attorneys demanded order. Noah watched Alexander carefully. He looked just as surprised as everyone else. Ethan had changed sides, but only halfway. Ethan tapped another key on the presentation console. A recorded video conference filled the screen. Several board members appeared discussing how to remove all evidence connecting Noah to the fraud investigation. One unmistakable voice declared, "If Bennett remembers anything, Carter loses leverage. Eliminate the witness before the regulators find him." The recording ended. Silence crashed into the room. Noah slowly turned toward Alexander. "You knew this existed?" Alexander nodded once. "Not until yesterday." Ethan answered before Noah could ask another question. "I found it last week." Noah frowned. "Then why didn't you release it immediately?" Ethan met his eyes without looking away. "Because revenge made me careless." He looked toward Alexander. "I wanted to destroy him publicly for burying the truth instead of exposing the board." Alexander finally spoke. "And now?" Ethan gave a tired smile. "Now I know the board was using both of us." The chairman slammed a hand against the table. "Enough. Security." No one moved. Two security officers standing by the entrance looked instead toward Noah and Alexander. One quietly removed his earpiece. The other folded his arms. They had watched the evidence too. The chairman's authority was slipping in real time. Noah realized something important. For the first time since the gala, power had shifted away from the people who controlled the room and toward the people who possessed the truth. He stepped closer to the head of the table. "You wanted everyone to believe Alexander kissed me to control me." Noah's voice remained calm despite the cameras now broadcasting live from outside the glass walls. "The truth is he redirected every camera in that ballroom because you planned to expose me as a witness before I even knew I had been one." He looked directly at the directors. He made himself the scandal. Alexander lowered his eyes briefly, almost as if he wished Noah had never said it aloud. Noah continued anyway. "That doesn't mean he was right." Alexander looked back up. Noah faced him fully. "You still stole my choice." The room remained completely silent. Noah took one slow breath before speaking again. "But today I'm making that choice myself." He walked across the boardroom until he stood beside Alexander instead of across from him. No one had expected that. Not the board. Not the reporters outside. Not even Alexander. Noah reached for Alexander's hand. This time there was no wrist grab. No force. No cameras creating a performance. Alexander didn't move until Noah's fingers closed around his own. "I am standing here because I choose to," Noah said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Not because anyone claimed me." Several board members looked away. Others stared at the floor. The chairman's phone began ringing repeatedly. Federal investigators had arrived in the lobby. Company legal counsel quietly stepped away from the directors and toward Alexander instead. Ethan watched the entire scene unfold before letting out a slow breath that sounded almost like relief. "Looks like," he said softly, "I spent 2 years fighting the wrong war." Before anyone could answer, the conference room doors opened once more. A team of federal investigators entered carrying warrants, and the lead investigator looked directly at Noah. "Mr. Bennett," she said, "we're here because someone anonymously submitted every missing file 30 minutes ago." Noah looked first at Alexander, then at Ethan. Both men appeared equally surprised. Whoever had sent the evidence had acted after Noah walked into the boardroom, which meant someone else inside the company had finally chosen to stop hiding the truth. 6 months later, nobody in the city called Noah Bennett the CEO's secret lover anymore. The headlines had changed first, then the lawsuits, then the board. 3 directors resigned before trial. 2 took plea agreements. The chairman disappeared from every business magazine that had once praised his leadership. Carter Group survived, but not untouched. Its glass tower still stood over the financial district. Yet the company inside it had learned what silence cost. Alexander returned as CEO only after an independent board review cleared him of the cover-up and condemned the people who had used both his power and Noah's name as weapons. Ethan Brooks testified against them too. He never apologized in public, but one quiet afternoon he sent Noah a black folder with a single note clipped inside. This time, everything in it belongs to you. Noah kept the note, not because he forgave everything, but because endings were rarely clean and truth mattered more than pride. The world still remembered the kiss. Of course it did. The video remained online, replayed in edits, news retrospectives, and gossip channels that never fully understood what had happened beneath the surface. But Noah no longer flinched when he saw it. At first, all he had seen was Alexander's hand around his wrist, the cameras, the rival's smile, and the unbearable feeling of being turned into someone else's statement. Now he saw something else too. Fear in Alexander's eyes. Desperation beneath the control. A man making the wrong choice for the right reason. That did not erase the damage. It only gave Noah the truth he had needed to decide what came next. On the evening, Carter Group held its first public shareholder event after the investigation. Noah stood in front of the restroom mirror adjusting his tie with fingers that refused to stay steady. He had faced federal investigators, board members, reporters, and leaked headlines. But somehow walking into a ballroom beside Alexander still made his chest tighten. The door opened behind him. Alexander entered quietly, dressed in a midnight suit, his expression softer than the man the city had once called untouchable. "You disappeared," he said. Noah looked at him through the mirror. "I needed a minute." Alexander's gaze dropped to Noah's tie, slightly crooked. Once, he would have stepped forward and fixed it without asking. Tonight, he stopped beside him and lifted one hand halfway. "May I?" The question was small, ordinary. It nearly undid Noah more than any grand confession could have. He nodded. Alexander adjusted the tie with careful fingers, never touching more than he needed to. "There," he said. "Perfect." Noah smiled faintly. "You used to hate asking permission." Alexander met his eyes in the mirror. "I used to think protecting someone meant moving faster than fear. And now I know love that doesn't wait can still hurt." Silence settled between them, warm instead of heavy. Noah turned to face him fully. For a moment, the old memory returned. Alexander grabbing his wrist in a ballroom while Ethan watched, the kiss claiming him before Noah even understood the danger. Then the present replaced it. Alexander was not reaching for him now. He was waiting. Outside, the ballroom doors opened, and the murmur of the crowd drifted in. Reporters were there. Investors. Employees. People who had watched the scandal unfold and wanted to see what remained of them. Alexander extended his hand, palm up. Not a command. Not a claim. An invitation. Noah looked at it for one heartbeat. Then another. "You know," he said softly, "the first time you touched me in front of everyone, I hated you for making the choice before I could." Pain flickered across Alexander's face. "I know. I don't hate you anymore." Alexander's breath caught. Noah placed his hand in Alexander's. "But if we're walking in there together, it's because I choose to." Alexander's fingers closed gently around his. "Then I'll walk only as far as you want me to." They entered the ballroom. Side by side. This time, the room did not fall silent from shock. It quieted because people understood they were witnessing something different. No forced kiss. No possessive claim. No rival waiting to turn intimacy into a weapon. Just two men standing in the same light, neither hiding nor performing. A reporter called out, "Mr. Carter, Mr. Bennett, are you confirming your relationship tonight?" Alexander did not answer first. He turned to Noah. The choice was visible to everyone. Noah felt the old wound inside him, the one that had always whispered he would only be chosen when it benefited someone else, finally loosen. He stepped forward. "Yes," he said clearly, "but not because anyone claimed me." Alexander's hand tightened once around his, steady and proud. Noah continued, "Because I chose him, and he finally learned to let me." The room erupted in camera flashes, but this time Noah did not feel trapped by them. Ethan watched from across the room. No smile, no challenge, only a small nod before he turned away. The past released its final grip quietly. Later, when the speeches were over and the crowd had thinned, Alexander led Noah to the balcony overlooking the city. He stopped before touching him. Noah laughed softly and took the last step himself, resting his forehead against Alexander's shoulder. "You can kiss me now," he whispered. Alexander's arms came around him slowly. Are you sure? Noah lifted his face. I said you can. Not that you own the moment. Alexander smiled, and when he kissed him, it was nothing like the first time. No cameras mattered. No rival watched. No one was being protected through force or claimed through fear. It was quiet, chosen, and entirely theirs. The first kiss had made Noah feel like a possession. This one felt like coming home.